and I'm the staff hearing officer, and I'm calling the meeting of Wednesday, June 2nd to order. Today there's 3 items listed on the agenda. However, item C, which is 317 West Pueblo Street, the Samson Clinic project has been continued to June 16th. So we'll just have the first 2 items on. There's no other changes, right? No? Under announcements and appeals, last week I announced that 401.5 Old Coast Highway, the denial of that project was appealed, and that it was tentatively scheduled for Planning Commission on June 10th, and that date has been confirmed, so it'll be on next Thursday for action by the Planning Commission. There's no other announcements, correct? No? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on the agenda today? No? Seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 885 Mountain Drive. If the applicant would like to come up here. Anytime you're ready.
Thank you. The project site, which is almost 4 acres, located in between Gibraltar Road and Mountain Drive. Previous development on site, which was destroyed in the T-fire, consisted of a garage in this location and a residence here. The proposed rebuild of the dwelling and garage on the site have design changes which require 3 modifications. The first one that I'll talk about is this outdoor living area being proposed at the rear of the residence. Due to the topography constraints, a retaining wall system is necessary on this side in order to give a flat area with direct access at the finished floor of the residence. Because that retaining wall exceeds 10 inches in height, it requires a modification to be located within the setback. To further secure the area as a private space on a lot where visibility is easy because of the topography in Gibraltar Road being higher, this area is being proposed to be enclosed by a wall. For the same reason, the wall will sit on top of that retaining system and will exceed the 8-foot maximum height allowed within a required yard. Both of these improvements secure a private space for the occupants. We understand that the purpose and intent of the setback is to keep areas of congregation away from neighboring properties. This is a landscape easement, and the nearest neighbor is quite a distance away, so there is no issue with impacts associated with securing this area. Plus, the wall itself makes it more private and would buffer any impacts associated if there were development adjacent to the property. The third modification relates to a proposal for a detached accessory structure. The property is eligible for 500 square feet of detached accessory space, but as you can see, anywhere that it would be placed would be located within a front yard. This location has been used in the past and is currently being used by an accessory structure that did survive the fire. Unfortunately, due to its construction materials, it cannot be legalized, but the property owner has become accustomed to use of an accessory structure in this area and would like to propose one here of an approvable type of material to be used just as a private space away from the residence in an area that, again, is flat and has been used historically for those purposes. Staff's position is that all 3 of these modifications are necessary to secure amenities that are appropriate on this single-family residential lot with no risk of impacts to adjacent property owners, and is asking for approval of this project as submitted with the condition that the illegal structure be removed.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, if you'd like to state your name for the record and have any additional comments.
Trish Allen with Suzanne Elledge, Planning and Permitting.
Forbes Perkins, owner.
Heidi Jones, Suzanne Elledge.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add, Trish?
I do. I just brought a couple of exhibits for you.
Okay.
Staff mentioned the site configuration and the fact that adjacent residences are quite a distance away. Yesterday at the site visit, we were shrouded in fog, and Ms. Reardon could not see how far away the houses were, even in the distance. So right here, I have two of these. Well, I'll leave some things for the record. This is the location of the residence. This is an aerial photo prior to the T fire, of course. The closest residence next door they take access off of Gibraltar Road, is over 300 feet away. Now, these are approximate linear distances that I pulled off the city's geospatial browser, so we're not taking into consideration additional separation as a result of the topography. This house is much at a higher elevation than the owner. Across the way, this is a long drive that comes off of Gibraltar Road, over 670 feet away. This residence off of Mountain Below, 700 feet away. These residences that are, I believe, take access off of Mount Calvary above. Again, you can't even see these residences from the subject property, and these are linear distances. So just wanted to give that in terms of context. I understand the intent of a required setback, and staff mentioned that, the proposed location to rebuild the house is set way deep into the lot. Mr. Perkins has an access and landscape easement in this area. This is a wonderful location to build a private garden patio and to be outside but not be overwhelmed with the incredible view. And the desire is to create an outdoor space that's at the same finished floor elevation as the residence. We're proposing the house in the same location as the previous house, the same elevation as the previous house. All the pad has been graded, and it's a logical location to put the house back there. In terms of, I'm sorry these are so small, I just decided to do this quickly, so the TV guys are having fun focusing on this. The property line is the dash line going around the property. Again, we take access off of Mountain Drive. The green line is showing the required setbacks, 2 front yards, and then here are the interior yard setbacks. And per definition, when you look at the definition of front yard, the entire lot, except for where the perpendicular lines touch the wall of the main building, the entire lot is considered front yard per definition. So, I'm going to get to the accessory structure in a minute. I want to talk about the requested modifications, sort of technical in nature. I mean, if we were at grade, we can have an usable outdoor area at grade located in the setback. What happens on this corner of the property, and there are photos in the full set of plans, and you probably observed this at the site, at this point, we're on the existing slab. We are above grade for about, this is very approximate, it's just for graphic purposes, for about a distance of 10 feet, this slab is above grade, and at some point in here, it dies into the grade because we're sloping down. So really, the portion of the enclosed patio space, the outdoor space that's raised above grade, above the 10 inches, and stacked on a retaining system, as staff mentioned, the technical part of, this is the portion that's triggering the zoning mod in that area. 2, outdoor space above grade in a setback and the wall. And because we're using the existing footprint and we have to retain there due to the topography and the owner's desire to stack, to have a garden, for the privacy wall, we have to add the height of those 2 walls cumulatively. So what I'm trying to express is, yes, there's outdoor area above grade in a setback, an overheight wall, but there's a point here where that's not part of the mod request. It would be actually allowed for the definition.
So since the grade here is 10 inches, less than 10 inches here, the wall, so this is where the wall is too. It's not just like a small portion here where it exceeds 8 feet. Where's the
No.
overheight wall part?
the overheight wall, the proposed wall would be the extent of here, but my point is that as that wall turns the corner, it's touching grade at some point here, about 10 feet back. I don't have a section that shows that
You don't?
condition.
Okay.
I do have a perspective drawing. I'm not sure if they're in
Well,
this
here's
set.
this here.
They are.
Thanks. So this is where you're seeing that condition.
So it's right out, it's right here. This is over, anything in this area is over 8, because if this is 8 right here.
Right.
Okay.
But as we turn the corner, we're going to be dying into that grade, and then really the mod doesn't exist on that side of the house. And I don't know if you can see it better here in this perspective drawing.
Okay.
So just a technical point, and really the desire to have that open space really tie in to the enclosed, the habitable space inside the house. And just one more point. Oh, I did bring a site plan that shows the location of the existing accessory structure.
Okay.
That's here.
All right, great, thanks.
Here's a photo of it. And just a point of clarification. We are still working with our contractor and the fire department to determine what alterations would create a condition to legalize this structure. For example, making it more of a gazebo and less enclosed, doing something with treating the wood, perhaps removing the glazing or doing dual glaze. The owner met with his contractor yesterday to go over some possibilities, maybe a skirt to enclose the bottom. I would still like to work with the building department and the fire department to see if this structure can stay, understanding that it would require some alterations to bring it into compliance with fire code and building code. So the request is not to remove it. We're asking for a mod to have an accessory structure located in the front yard because that's the only place it can really go other than a side setback, which I think is a reasonable request given the lot configuration. And we're also asking for this structure to remain on the property while we work this out with the fire department and building and safety, and would like to propose a condition that if at such time we're getting ready for C of O for the house and for the garage, that if we can't keep it, if it has to be so altered that it's not even a desirable structure anymore, then at that time we would remove it, and perhaps the owner would propose something else at that time. Or I don't know, Rick, if you want to speak to that, or maybe we just have to let it go.
Okay.
So that's a question.
Absolutely.
All right.
Do you have anything to add?
Just two things from my own point of view as an owner and the eventual use of this house and that space of that closed-in garden. I'm a painter and I'm a sculptor, and the reason why I want to have a high wall around the area where I'm going to be painting is simply because it's so beautiful up there that sometimes I get distracted by the view. And I want to have just a wall in front of me so that I have my own little private space where I can just focus a little bit better. That is why I want to have a 7-foot wall. And the other reason why I'm particularly attached to this structure is sentimental. It's the only thing that didn't burn.
Okay.
And if I can bring it up to code without wrecking it, without making it into a bunker, well, then I'd like to do so. If it's going to turn into a bunker, I'll take it down.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 885 Mountain Drive? Are you here for the next item for the condominium conversion? Okay. All right. I received a letter from Miss Paula Westbury. And it appears it's in support of keeping the accessory building there, but the house, not supportive of the mod for the house. She monitors our agendas. She monitors all of our agendas and regularly submits comments on items. So, all right, well, I went out to the site yesterday, as both you know. Thank you very much for meeting me on the site and showing me around and trying to point out the neighbors. I was able to see the house in this area. So this one has been rebuilt, correct? Mm-hmm. Now, were any of these burned?
Yes.
So these were down below. So all of them.
Most of them burnt.
Okay.
One of them did not burn.
Okay. Well, starting with the modifications, your modification for the accessory structure, I think, is fine. I agree with the site constraints. Pretty much anywhere you place it on the site, the accessory structure would be in the front yard. It's not an excessive accessory structure. It's way below your limits for your property, so I can support the modification for the accessory structure. In regards to the patio area, I think this is a good case where it is site visits are very important, because in a typical setting, even in a lot this size, having the patio area with the wall in the setback, this close to the setback, raises concerns, especially when you're talking about needing a privacy wall. Then it's like, okay, well, is that really appropriate to have in a setback? If you need a wall to make it private, then it is encroaching into your neighbor, and that might not be appropriate. However, looking at the site conditions, or the site topography and layout, and the previous placement of the house on your lot, that it was pushed far over to the side, and the fact it wasn't a voluntary demo. I mean, you didn't want it to burn down. Nobody wanted their house to burn down. I think in this case it is supportable, in that you are replacing your residence in the same area. You're adding, minor things to make it more usable. Mm-hmm. That's not really proper English, but to make it, just to upgrade it to respond to your needs.
Compatible.
And so I think in this instance, giving all the considerations, so, the existing developments, both on-site and off-site, that I feel I could support the modification to allow the patio area and the wall to be over height. So I approve the project. Let me read the findings. Staff hearing officer finds the modification consistent. Okay, so the second line, it's missing a word, of the zoning ordinance, and is necessary to secure an appropriate improvement on the lot, because the patio, the proposed patio, says wall height and accessory structure will allow for amenities on this property that are in appropriate locations that will not result in impacts to neighbors. So just that, because the proposed patio and enclosure wall and the gazebo. And then I don't think the condition is necessary, since you do need to get a building permit for it, and this modification is for the building permit. And so if this structure can't be legalized, you can't get a building permit for it, so it needs to be removed. It would be a enforcement case. So I think it would be fine just...
Or how about a condition that the existing accessory building be permitted?
Yeah, permitted or removed prior to C of O. I don't, since I'm approving the modification to allow the accessory structure, to be in the
I see what you're
location.
saying. Yeah.
Whether it's that one's the one that remains or a new one, it's still appropriate mod, I think. So, I could just say it's either permitted or removed prior to C of O for the house.
Okay.
That's great.
Sounds good.
But you're right. It would have to be addressed, condition or no condition.
Yeah.
Because it's there. It needs
And-
a permit.
Yeah. So I think that I just don't want to limit you, that if And I want to be specific that this approval is not for that one and another one, it's just for one, whether it's that one or not. So, okay. My action is appealable within 10 calendar days to the Planning Commission. They also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before then, they could call it up during that same day, 10-day appeal period. Given it's a T-fire rebuild, I think the likelihood of that's remote, but that they do have the authority.
Do you recommend we wait to go back to single-family design board?
No, I think you can continue on. It is a risk if it gets appealed, but I think that you just can't get a building permit issued during that time.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
we're not ready.
And you can keep this.
Would you like the site plan that shows
this is
the
for me?
structure? It looks pretty much like that.
Yes, that's fine. Yes, if you can
Just
keep
the
that,
one
because
or two?
yeah,
One will be fine.
I'll stamp that.
And I gave Roxanne a set of exhibits
Okay.
that I showed, so I don't know if we want that set too.
Okay. Well, no, I don't need a set. Is this extra then?
Yeah, I gave her a complete set, so
Okay.
I'll take them back.
Great. Thank you.
Take this one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is 321 East Cannon Perdido. If the applicant would like to come up.
Hey, Roxanne. How are you? Good. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. You want to look at the plans here?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Kelly Broderson, Assistant Planner. The project that I'm presenting today is located at 321 East Cannon Perdido. It's mid-block on the north side of the street between Garden and Laguna. The project involves the conversion of existing 4-bedroom, 2-story residence into 2 condominiums on a 7,900 square foot lot adjacent to El Caserio. The proposed exterior alterations include enclosing a second-story, 145 square foot open deck and constructing approximately 665 square feet of roof deck and 2 exterior stairways. The discretionary applications required for the project are a tentative subdivision map for a 1-lot subdivision to create 2 residential condominiums and a condominium conversion permit to convert 1 existing residence into 2 condominiums. The project was last reviewed by HLC on Tuesday, June 1st, and received positive comments and was forwarded on to Staff Hearing Officer today. The project amenities include all of the requirements required by the condominium conversion ordinance, including a washer and dryer for each unit, 200 cubic feet of private storage space, separate utilities, required parking, and also the required open space. The original house was constructed in circa 1984, mid-1980s, and it was constructed as a one residential unit. And then around 1995, a second unit was added, creating a duplex. And then subsequent to that, it was converted to a 1 unit of 1 residence by creating a stairway between the 2 units, creating 1 unit. And now they're here today to convert it back to 2 units and make it into condominiums. That's really all I have to say about the condominium conversion. And so in conclusion, staff recommends that you approve the tentative subdivision map and the condominium conversion and make the findings outlined in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit A.
Okay. Great, thanks. If you'd like to state your name for the record and if you have anything else to add.
Okay, I'm Jeff Sheldon, architect for the clients, and not many things had to be done for this conversion. Some exterior stairs to get to a open space. We had to do some basically minor issues on the on the project, much more minor than most projects would take, in that it was 2 units not long ago. It's been 2 lots all this time, so it was always 2 lots, and then it got joined also. So it was a double lot of 1 half commercial, residential, and 1 residential. So it's had this funny history through time here.
So it was merged?
Then it was merged,
Okay.
and then now technically we're dividing it in condozation. So,
Okay.
so it's sort of, I guess, had trouble settling all these years. But now we're getting 2 units out of it. 1 family lives there with their children, and so it's all owner occupied at this point. Yeah, as architect, I was mostly concerned about maintaining the character of that neighborhood, which is so fantastic. So we had 1 small enclosure. I can't remember how many square feet, 107, not very much. And that's all shown on the architectural if you want to go through that. But I don't know, I think this is minor impact, and we get a little smaller units down here, which is always a good thing.
Okay. Great, thank you. All right. I'd like to open the public hearing. I have a request to speak from David Chavez. If you'd like to come up and you can have a seat, and then there's a microphone. Good morning.
Good morning, and how are you? My name is David Chavez, and I live at 911 Garden Street.
Okay.
Okay, and I just wanted to know what impact it would have on my neighborhood, basically. Not having too much an effect of, where I live, and in the future as well, the impact that would come if this, situation was to, be done.
Okay.
Because I live, it's always, I've been grandfathered into my property, through my mom and dad, and inherited the property.
So Canna Perdido Street is where?
Right.
And then Garden Street.
Here.
Okay, so you live, can you show me on this map approximately where you're at? Here's Garden Street.
Yes.
So
911 Garden.
So here's Anapamu. Are you between Anapamu and Figueroa?
Carrillo, I'm at Carrillo.
Garden, right here.
Okay, so you're like right in here. And the project site is right over here.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of the, let's see, Garden.
And there's
Project
Korea.
Where's
site's actually
9?
up
Yeah,
here.
right.
The project site's actually up here. This is wrong.
Yeah. See, so, and Carrillo Street's right there.
So can you see the project site from your house now?
Oh, it's right next door.
It's right next door.
That's my house.
Are you in El Casario?
I'm in the old Pueblo Viejo area, Presidio area. Okay. That was always been a concern, that piece of property where I live. I was born there and raised there all my life. So the thing is, I was grandfathered into that property, and I used to have the, Mrs. Janet, Pearl Chase was a good friend of my mom's, and also, other people that used to come to my mother, and then she always told me to fight for our piece of property or the zoning in that area to make sure that it stays, because we're residential, and we're probably one of the most residential there, besides another place that's right next door to his, where he wants to do the remodel. So I just want to know what effect it's going to have on the zoning and mine and where I live right next door. So, I'm not, I had Mr. Udman build his place, into the Spanish Gardens. You guys know where that is. It's a beautiful place. And he's very quiet. That place is very quiet and it doesn't disturb nothing, So he's got a good thing going on right there. I just want to know the effects that this would have, for me, and my family or my future of my kids too, and they're growing up. They're older already, but the thing is, I just want to make sure it doesn't affect me in any way possible, to it won't disturb the future of my existing in that zoning area. That's what I'm most concerned about.
Okay, great, thank you. If, Mr. Shelton, if you want to explain the scope of the changes for your project in terms of any additional building area and that.
Let's do that. I too love this neighborhood. So, and I was, when they said they wanted to change anything to the exterior, I was, don't. Was my first reaction. So when they showed me what it was, I thought I could do something that was sensitive. That, and I'll run that through. Let's go to this first. Let's go to the new. This is existing landscape. So I could. Entry level plan.
There's the second floor plan.
Okay, so here's Cannon Perdido. Here's the driveway to El Casario here.
Right.
So on this plan, what you'll see on the first floor, we're adding this stairway right here, and I'll show you an elevation right here. It's an outdoor stairway that gets you to this roof deck right here. On this, so that's all we're doing, I believe, on this level. On the second level, you can see that stair coming up, and then there's a stair. There's already a deck here. We're just adding a stair right here, and then some low walls right here. They're 42 inches high for a guardrail. They're plaster. And then I guess the most dramatic thing we're doing, which is this, and we don't need to do this for the condoization, but it was something they were going to do anyway. But it's enclosing this porch, which is 10 feet by, I don't have it, 13 feet maybe. It's not very big. I can't see it.
What about a scale?
It says it on
It's about 145 square feet.
And so let's go to that in elevation.
So it's an existing second-story deck that they're creating a sun porch or sunroom.
So from the street, from the, not the street, the driveway, see where these posts are? That's going to be enclosed right there.
Did you put it down for the TV?
Okay? What's that?
Put it down for the
Okay.
TV. So these.
This is enclosed right here, and you can see that right here. And then from the side, you can see it's this bit right here,
Right.
Can you see that?
and then there's another little sketch of that somewhere.
But you're going to keep the Spanish structure, right? Spanish style.
Well, the whole thing stays the same.
Stays-
These details are just matched right off.
Okay.
Okay, just very, very low key. That's very low key, kind of soft building there. No fancy ironwork, very straight, just to match.
Okay.
I'm very concerned about that. These little walls. Where would it be from the street?
This is from Cannon Perdido.
Yeah.
Here's the front
From
entry.
from Cannon Perdido, you can't. There's this one, which this is where the low wall would be. It's a white wall right there, and then you can't see. Well, from Cannon Perdido, the best you can see that this back stair would be right here.
Right.
So I don't think the only thing you're really going to see is this and this stair here.
Yeah.
So physically, how it might impact your neighborhood is I personally don't think it would. I mean, I think it's going to be a nice little addition. The condoization of it is another thing. I'm not quite sure what that would mean.
Well, as Mr. Shelton had explained in his presentation, there's been a history of a single family and then a duplex and then back to a single family. So in terms of the use, it's still proposed to be residential.
Right.
And then instead of one large house, it'll be two smaller condos.
Yeah, 'cause Mr.
So those are the
Brooks-
changes.
Mr. Brooks has a house on the corner, you know, that two-story house, Spanish structure house. Just right from the corner from that.
Okay.
You know, the thing is, you know, we allowed, as long as they kept it Spanish style, Spanish structure style, and then affect too much of the zoning area because there's an architectural right below there, you know, business. But you can't tell that, you know, that really that's a business because that's what I'm just worried about. Too much, you know, building, commercial building being done in that area.
Yeah, well, they're proposing the use to be the same for residential, not to change the use of it. So the condos would result in 2 residential condos versus a commercial condo and a residential condo.
Right. So that was my really concern about that situation. Otherwise, it seems like it's okay.
Okay, well, great.
It's going to be a bit pretty.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great, well, thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank you for taking your time coming down. I went out to the site yesterday and walked around the site and saw your the plywood and stuff, and that was nice. I'm sure it was in regards to the HLC wanting to see it. But,
Right.
I thought it was helpful for myself in looking at the project site and what kind of changes. I did have questions regarding this trash enclosure here, whether it received building permits or not. It has, because it's in the setback and
Yeah,
it
Kelly
has
just confirmed
storage.
that. And did you say, Kelly, you looked for the building permit?
Yes, Mr. Rieger, in researching the archives when he came through the DART process, I brought the original plans
Oh,
here.
great.
And in 1984, when the original house was constructed, it does show, you can turn to the very last page. It shows something there in the setbacks. I'll show you that. Right here.
Those are
Which
planter
is
walls.
now considered a planter wall. And then when you look at
So that was the foundation plan you just looked at?
yeah, but it shows the basic structure of that
Yeah.
piece of the building in the setback. And then when the house came in 1995 for the
Well, here's
addition,
this right here. This is trash outside.
Wow.
I'm trying to find it. So in 1995, it came in for the addition, and then it calls it as a trash enclosure, and that's what I'm trying to find here. I should have tagged it. So, it's questionable as to whether it was ever actually legally permitted.
Well, they did show trash cans on that.
And it's sitting there, which is trash. Right here.
Yeah, there it
Trash
is.
enclosure.
So that was when they did this addition in 1995. And so I saw that, and I considered that legally nonconforming. So now it depends on how you deem
Okay,
that.
well, the issue is that it's located in the setback. And we're lighting. One of these just has a closure. Now it has storage and all. I mean, it's quite bigger than what's shown here.
That's right, because then they ask, the new codes ask for sizes now, before we can throw a garbage can in there. So, well, look, we have plenty of room on the property to put it back in the we could put it in the,
In the garage, you have
the
extra
garage,
garage
yeah.
space. Okay, yeah, because without requesting a modification, it needs to be back to what was permitted or relocated.
well, we could do a combo. I mean, if that made sense to you. That is, if we could fit a couple 65s in what was permitted, and then the remainder, we're going to need 2 trash. One's for one family, one's for the other.
Right. That's, yeah. In terms of the location, as long as it's not in the setback and it's not encroaching in your minimum dimension with your garages, I don't really have a concern with where it's located. It's just the structure, I think what's only permitted is this area right here.
The thin area.
Whether it is actually a structure or if it was just a garden wall. I'm not sure about that. I haven't looked through the plans, but and I'm not saying that this isn't the most appropriate location, easiest access for the trash. It's just in terms of zoning, it's not. It needs
Having to go through a mod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To keep it there. The other question I had was and you explained it. And if you ask me, can you explain how your open yard, this is existing?
The community open yard?
Yeah, just your open yard areas for the residents. That's the open space.
Well, oddly, that's open space. I think we went through this and somehow we'd all forgotten about. I'm not sure how we got back into. We came back and added this. I'm not sure where in the process we'd either forgotten or thought something else was going to be it. No matter what, here we are now.
Okay.
And so we have this space here, which is a flat area already, which they walk on,
Okay.
informally walk on. Turn it formally into a space that both people use. That is, these people come this way. They come from there. They're here all the time. There's their master bedroom. They can go out here and share this space with these people. These people on this unit come up these stairs and use this as their private and this as a community space.
And these just have little gates or...
Yeah, we didn't show the privacy issue, but I imagine a little iron gate there of some kind. But nothing like a, if someone wants to, these people want to vandalize these people, they'll figure out a way to do it. So it's a friendly gate.
Right.
So we have to get along.
Yeah, hopefully so. And then in regards to the first floor areas, this is the private area for the rear unit. And then...
And their private area was there on the deck. Right.
For Unit A is on the
Right here.
Okay.
and then Unit B is here.
In terms of usable area on the first floor, it's really this area right here that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's this in front of this fun little room right here, and they actually use this. Maybe they're not allowed to, but this is actual space here.
Yeah, you're allowed to use it. You just can't count it in your...
In your calculations,
Right,
yeah. Back here, you basically don't come back here very much. That's sort of no man's land over here.
Yeah, it didn't look real inviting. Actually, I received a letter on this project too from Paula Westbury stating never subdivide the project. I received that, and I don't think I closed the public hearing. So close the public hearing. Okay, yeah, I was just walking around the site. I wasn't able to get back in this area, but it looks, based on the site plan and all that it is appropriate area. The other question I had was regarding the garage, Kelly. And it was saying, in the report it talks about it's non-conforming, but then it talks about removing a wall to meet the minimum requirements, and then it concludes that it's still non-conforming.
Correct, and that's because this laundry room will still encroach into the minimum 20 by 20. So technically you will be able to fit 2 cars in there, but per the zoning ordinance and the parking requirements, it encroaches into the 20 by 20, but they have this extra 1 car carport, so they have the 2 here, 1, technically 2, but 1 that
One
meets
there.
code, and then 1 here.
Okay.
And so that's why they're moving a stairway, but the laundry room will still be encroaching minimally.
And then the storage for the front unit, where's the 200?
The storage. Okay, so for Unit A, there's 200 cubic feet at the west wall of the 1-car garage.
Oh, this one.
And then for Unit B,
So when you add these together, it's 200.
and then Unit B is 200 cubic feet is shown at the north wall of the carport.
Oh, so that area too over here?
Yeah.
Okay, I just saw this one. So 30. Okay. And then you were, their owners are owner occupied right now?
That's right.
And then, but what, I was looking through the conditions and it talks about,
That's my fault.
okay, so these aren't really necessary?
I don't think so. And actually, their attorney in preparing the CCNRs was kind enough to point that out to me also.
Okay.
Shouldn't have included those. So I apologize for that error.
All right. Oh, and then one last question,
The
actually.
misnumbering.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
Yeah, and their attorney also noticed that.
He found everything.
There's also one that I don't think you mentioned to me. It's regarding the landscape plan.
Yeah, just it has a.
I said something about tree protection at the very end of that, and we can go ahead and take that off too, I think.
Well, that's the, I saw,
Following tree protection measures, so I should have taken that out.
okay. I see we have in here the standard, put the contractor on notice regarding the remote possibility of archaeological remains. And I questioned that, but it doesn't hurt to have it on. However, the ground disturbance is so minimum, and it's in the areas that was originally disturbed with the original construction, that I wasn't sure that that's really necessary. But if the applicant doesn't have concern just keeping it on, it's just an advisory to the contractors that.
I mean, do if this gets approval, we'll start construction documents. So are we saying, do I need a letter from someone?
No, what
It's
she's
just on the
saying is
plans.
that normally
Okay.
a project would require, in this zone, in this area, it would require an archaeological report, but because there's no ground disturbance, we didn't require one. So she's basically saying, logically, we didn't even
Okay.
need to have that condition.
Right.
Yeah,
Unless you don't
the
mind.
condition I'm talking about is on page 4 of 9G5, and it's just alerting that it says the following information shall be printed on the plans.
Okay.
And it's just
No
general,
problem.
it's just the one that alerts the contractor. If you should find something suspicious, stop and redirect your work.
Got it.
And, so it's not an additional monetary requirement from for the owner.
Okay.
We're not requiring a monitor or anything. I think that was all of my questions. Okay, so like I said, I went out to the site and I walked around the neighborhood, and I really like what the owner and what you're doing in regards to preserving the existing residence and enhancing it and proposing changes that are consistent with both the structure and the neighborhood versus just bulldozing the site
Oh,
and
yeah.
starting from fresh. So I think that it's a good solution. And I also recognize the site constraints in terms of open yard and providing all the requirements, zoning requirements, that 15 by 15 common outdoor area that you said that you're adding onto the roof, and the private outdoor living space for each of the units. And I think what you've come up with is an appropriate solution. And the parking, you provide more than what's necessary. I think that's another. Some people think of it as a benefit. Some think that it's unnecessary. But I think it reduces the potential impacts to the neighborhood because you are providing for your units. In regards to this trash enclosure, I think just a little more research on what was proposed there, and then either relocate the excess to somewhere on the site that's not within the setbacks and it's not encroaching into the garage. And if that's not necessary, then you would have to come back and ask, if you wanted to keep it here, ask for a modification because it is within the setback.
Or the open space. Can't go in the open space.
It'll be in the
Any
garage.
required.
We'll find room in the garage if we can't do it.
So with that, I can make the findings outlined in the staff report and approve the project with the amended conditions. 1A can be deleted. It's regarding the notice of approval of the condominium conversion.
Okay?
And then for C4, strike that last sentence where it says the following tree protection measures shall be included. On page 4 of 9, number F, I don't believe that's necessary either. That's regarding notice of vacation of unit about non-purchasing tenants. So I don't, since it's owner occupied. And then we'll fix the numbering.
Yeah.
And then I think also it's noted on 7 of 9, it's noted as F5, but I think it's really supposed to be I5.
Right.
But F5, that's again the first exclusive right of purchase, right of first refusal, so that's not necessary. And then a condition related to that trash enclosure that it.
So, let's say this got approval. We have to start construction documents and all that mess. I can try to solve that, and if I see that I can't, or want to do this, I'll come in for mod? Mm-hmm. Okay. And if not, I will locate them in the trash area, or locate them where I think is appropriate and go through the standard channels, like planning,
Yes, it'd be
Texas.
shown, so the condition would be under the heading here that talks about the following shall be shown on the plans submitted for building permits.
Okay.
So under that one. So on your
All right.
plans submitted with building permits, you show the location of the trash enclosure that is conforms to the zoning ordinance.
Okay, either prove that it does, or change it, or move it. Okay.
Yeah. So if it's legally non-conforming, that's fine.
Right.
Then we're done. If it isn't, if it's has been expanded without the benefits of permits, then your option is to relocate it to an area that is consistent or request the modification, and that would be working with Kelly. Okay, so I approve your projects.
All right, thank you.
Subject to those amended conditions, and my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days.
Okay.
And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. You were sitting here when I explained it to the previous applicant. So if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they can call it up, and it would be within that same 10-day period.
Okay.
And if either of those actions would occur, Kelly would contact you. Okay?
Okay, appreciate
Great,
it.
thanks.
Thank you very much.
And I adjourn the meeting.
All right.